Hello, welcome to the BiG Scuba Show.
A big welcome. Take a walk through history with us at Portsmouth Historic Harbour, seeing famous ships such as HMS Warrior, Victory and the UK's newest aircraft carrier, the Prince of Wales. Ian and Gemma are here to attend the new 4D experience at the Mary Rose Museum. Dive the Mary Rose.
Today's episode is sponsored by Narked at 90, so let's find out a bit more about them. Narked at 90, their tagline has been beyond technical, which describes them pretty well. John Routley and Brent Hudson launched the company over 20 years ago. They are both technical divers who have logged thousands of mixed gas dives between them over a 30-year period. Using their engineering know-how and diving expertise, have developed bespoke, personal, commercial and military diving equipment and products of a universally recognised, unparalleled calibre.
Their ability to be adaptive and versatile with their developments led them to support the NHS during COVID, using their superior knowledge of breathing and oxygen monitoring systems to help develop emergency ventilators. They also design and supply the sneaky stuff used by defence-based development groups throughout the Western world, although they can't tell us much about that. If you're thinking of moving across to tech diving or completely new to diving, Narked at 90 can advise and guide on the best equipment and setup for your personal or commercial requirements. Narked at 90 have unparalleled experience of shearwater dive computers and are the longest serving and sole and UK European service centre for those. They are happy to offer technical support, servicing, repairs and upgrades to all shearwater computers, past and present. Narked at 90 stock shearwater computers, but are also stockers and technical support centre for many other manufacturers, including Divesoft, JJCCR, Hollis, Revo and Kiss Rebreathers.
Based centrally in the UK, Narked at 90 also offer full rebreather head servicing for selected manufacturers.
Bespoke cable assemblies.
Advice on specific fitting requirements.
Suggestions and guidance for home builds.
Computer laser cutting and engraving.
Pressure testing to simulate 400-metre dives.
So, Narked at 90, a reputation built on supporting both manufacturers and divers worldwide.
Go to narkedat90.com and make sure you are following their social media to keep up to date with their latest news and offers.
Narked at 90, large enough to cope, small enough to care.
Right, this episode's being recorded.
Right. Are you ready?
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the BiG Scuba Podcast. I am your dive master. My name is Ian, and I am also one of the co-hosts of this podcast. And with me in Pakefield, coughing her way through the podcast is...
Hello, it's Gemma here. So yes, a bit under the weather, but not too bad. We're both under the weather.
Yeah, I've still got these blooming colds.
Yeah.
Although mine seems that it's on the way out. Mind you, last time we recorded, it seemed like it's on the way out. And
You're still a bit nasally.
still, yeah,
I'm still a bit breathless.
Nose is absolutely full. It's just, and I think I even sound croaky still.
Yeah, you do sound. You don't sound.
So, yeah.
You've got your radio voice on.
Hello, even caller. Oh, what was that program that used to be on? Nighttime.
Yeah, he had people phoning in, didn't
Jack. And he used to solve murders, wasn't it? And and then he'd at the end of the we should do this. He used to at the end of every episode there was a little moment about talking about life or something, like a little word of wisdom.
A little nugget of something, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah. I have to look it up and see what it's called. So.
Let us know if you used to watch that.
Showing your age.
Yes.
Anyway, this is episode 149.
Yes. So we are going to talk to you today about Dive the Mary Rose, the 4D experience, part of the Mary Rose Museum. This could be a little bit of a different one for you because we've got some recordings of some interviews that we did actually while we were there. It was very nice, and we got to say thank you to Sally Tyrrell and the Mary Rose Museum for inviting us and for letting us to come along and join everybody who was there that night and celebrate the museum and its new experience.
Yeah, there were certainly a lot of people there, people involved in the museum and people from the original dive team.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant, and such a privilege to be there and talk to these guys, because they were there. Even before it was ever lifted up.
Yeah, it's just an amazing experience to think all these people. And one of the guys we spoke to, what was he, 83?
Yeah, and we need to actually offer an apology to Ted. So Ted Clamp was I believe, safety diver, and he was like the head of the diving at the time. And from what I understand, ruled the roost.
He's ex-Navy or a Navy guy
very
as well.
Strict from what I hear, but strict and fair, and health and safety and all that. And we did a recording with Ted, but unfortunately, we just couldn't salvage it. It was there was just so much noise going on at the time, wasn't there?
Yeah, but giving him the credit, he was just a stunning guy to talk to. Thoroughly, immersed.
Quite a character. We do hope that we can maybe get some more time with Ted in the future and bring you a recording with Ted.
Yeah.
Because he has got a lot to say and offer. And I thought it was a lovely moment. There were some speeches by Dominic Jones, the chief executive, and Nigel Persh, the chairman, who their speeches will be in this episode coming a bit later on. And right at the end, Ted starts a 3 cheers.
Hip hip hooray, wasn't it?
He did.
Very maritime that was. Yeah.
And that's lovely. And so we speak to people who were part of the team. Colin Fox, who was part of the dive team. Colin Fox has also done quite a few things with the museum, and also there's quite a few things if you look him up where he's talked about the history. Burgett Norwich?
So she was a diver, but more involved in the archaeology side of things.
That's right. Yeah. And then you got Leslie Runnels, Dr. Leslie Runnels, who was also she's a diver, Women Divers Hall of Fame, won the first.
She blew us away when she told us that, didn't she? And she then went on to become a doctor after her diving, and because she was so inspired by the marine side of things.
And she had another life as well, didn't she? A really exciting life.
Up in the sky.
Yeah. She was a air hostess in Concorde. How awesome is that?
Yeah, so just these amazing characters that you can find in the most amazing situations.
Yeah, and then we speak to Dr. Alex Hildred, who we spoke to before. She's been on earlier podcasts with us, and also if you've been watching and following Ross Kemp with his new series, she features on the first episode when he dives the Mary Rose.
And he brings she looks at the finds that he's found on the seabed. So which is quite funny because she's like, well, that's recent stuff. But it was nice to see her appear on that, and it ties it all in really nicely because obviously we've just recently released a podcast with Ross Kemp about Deep Sea Treasure Hunter, the new series on Sky History Channel, and we're just finishing off this episode with the Mary Rose 4D experience.
Talk about Ross. Have you watched any of them?
I've watched a couple of them. So obviously the very first one with the Mary Rose. So that was great. And obviously then I think he did some diving in the Red Sea, didn't he, as well? So
we've had various comments, haven't we?
Yeah. But the actual podcast that we had with Ross was really entertaining. He was a really nice chap.
Brilliant. Yeah, I thought he was spot on and really on form actually.
Yeah.
And he is definitely an ambassador for UK diving, definitely.
Yeah.
especially about the history as well.
Yeah, I think the way it comes across, he is not just there to be a diver. He's there to talk about the history and about the experience of that boat, ship, wreck, tank, whatever he's diving on, and how it came to be there. Which, and you watch these programs and you learn something. It's not just about there is the drama and about the diving, but there is a lot to take away, even if you're not a diver.
There's a balance to be had. I think we've had comments where people will say, well, about his diving and things like that. And I get that. But all the way through and in our podcast, to be fair to Ross has said he's an amateur diver. There's much more professional and better divers out there and bigger divers out there than him, but that's not the point. The point of it, as you said, his bringing to the masses, divers, non-divers, he gets a show of 40 minutes to cram in diving and the history and the background of a certain wreck.
Yeah, that's right. And we've got to appreciate that he is not just diving for pleasure in this series. No, he is diving there in front of the camera, and he has got to think he's there as the front-facing person, diving, talking, coping with diving, checking air, buoyancy, everything. So he has got a lot more to deal with than us recreational divers.
Yeah, it's a bit like why do people watch Formula One? You ever thought about that? Why do people watch Formula One? And it's often because they like to see a few spills and thrills and the excitement,
drama, crashes,
drama, And if you're Ross Kemp, and I don't know, this is true. I'm only guesstimating from what I've seen and listening to Ross. If you went to someone like Sky, say, I want to dive on these wrecks, right? What's one of the questions they're going to ask? Right, okay, well, that's all really good, but how are you going to make that appeal to the masses? The divers, we're already sold because we like diving, so we're an easy market, right? But how are you going to appeal to somebody who's just flicking through the channels?
Yeah, and at the end of the day,
who's not a diver, never been underwater, not particularly interested in going underwater, but how are you going to get them to actually watch a history program? Which involves some diving.
And it is about numbers, and it is about getting that audience and having a huge audience. And that means that you've got to have all the elements that make people sit on their backsides on their sofa and watch the series.
You have. And unfortunately, diving is a niche sport. I know there's millions of people that dive in the community and what have you, but compared to a lot of sports, diving is a niche sport, whether we like it or don't. And we've been told this, haven't we, by certain parties, because it's a niche sport, and that's that. And as a try and get to sell that as a niche sport to people, such as Sky and other companies who are going to support it and make a thingy, you've got to dramatize stuff. You've got to do stuff. You've got to make it appeal wider than the actual diving itself, i.e. talk about the history, relate it to, as Ross has done, to his family, and bring in experts and look at wrecks which offer those such as the Thistlegorm, such as diving in Normandy, such as the Mary Rose,
So I think everybody have a look at it, let us know what you think, but I think you've got to have an open mind when you watch it. And if you are a diver and think that there is a lot more to what
he has some I think, to be fair, they have some tough dives because he's not pleasure diving. He's diving with with multiple tanks in deepish water, not always clear,
open water,
full face masks, which can have the odd problem. And you've got to also think about, where's the camera? I've got to now think of something intelligent and interesting to say to camera the whole time while you're holding buoyancy and being in a point where you can be seen. Not always easy. So, but we ought to say thanks to Ross for doing these programs, because it does help broaden the message. And hey, somebody might watch that and go, hey, this diving lot, I'll give that a go.
Yeah.
So it is good.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it just nicely fits in with the Mary Rose and how we've been involved in seeing the 4D experience before it opened to the public.
What did you think of the 4D experience?
Really enjoyed it. It was interactive. Your seats vibrate. You feel the wind on your face.
You do. Bubbles come from the ceiling. Yeah,
and Alex Hildred does some of the narration as the diver, and it's great because
Ross
does. Yeah. So definitely, if you've got any time, school holidays or weekends away, head to Portsmouth. There's the Mary Rose Museum, but there's also the whole historical dockyard with all different attractions. Yeah. It's just an amazing place, Portsmouth, and there'll be so much to keep you occupied for a couple of days. So,
definitely worth going to.
But if you're going to go to the maritime area, head to the Mary Rose Museum first.
Absolutely. So coming up next. So we've got the speeches that were made, again, by Dominic Jones, Chief Executive, Nigel Pearce, Chairman. They were recorded in a hall full of loads of people, and we're towards the back. So bear with the quality, but that is what it is. We're bringing those recordings to you. As they are.
It was a roving report. It wasn't in studio conditions, was it?
Exactly.
We're just really thankful for the people that we interviewed, and thanks for inviting us to the evening event, and we thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we got the 4 interviews that we had and that we made. So
so we hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll catch you on the next one. And thank you for downloading.
Yeah, thank you very much for downloading. Hope you enjoy it. Give us any feedback and anything that you've got from that, or any questions, we could even put that to them. So anyway, that's it from us.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Hello, welcome to the BiG Scuba Podcast. We are out on location.
Hello, yes, we are. We are at Haylen Island. Where's Haylen Island? Well, it's right next door to one of the most historic ports in the UK on the south coast, right next door to Portsmouth. So that's where we are. We are at Haylen Island, looking out to the sea. If you went in the distance, we can see the Victorian forts.
Further out would be the Isle of Wight.
Isle of Wight, yeah. Yep. Across the way there is Southampton, just in the distance, and we can see the big sail.
Iconic tower in Portsmouth. Yeah, it's a very blustery day. We've seen kite surfers and foilers out in the bay here.
Why are we here today?
We are here because the Mary Rose Museum is in Portsmouth on the old historic dockyard, and tonight they're hosting an event to launch the Mary Rose Dive 4D experience.
Yeah, and I'm full of cold. Yay! Yay! I'm full of cold.
Let's see, Harold, are you good?
Lovely.
So we've been invited to the event by the Mary Rose Trust. They've featured in a previous podcast.
Yep.
So the launch event is tonight, and then it goes live to the public tomorrow, 31st of March, 2023.
It looks exciting. It looks really good, and it's cost a lot of money.
It has, yeah.
It's a big investment for them.
All bells and whistles. So you sit in a seat. This is the story, and you the seats move, and you get smells, sensations.
You got to have the glasses on as well.
Yeah. So we're going to experience this tonight.
Narrated. Is it all by Ross Kemp?
No, some of it, I think.
Right.
Yeah, and tonight, some of the people at the event will be divers that actually were involved in the raising and the excavation of the Mary Rose. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see who we meet.
Yeah, our previous guest, Alexandra Hildred, will be there as well.
Yes,
Have a chat with her.
And Sally Tyrrell
She's head of like the social media side of things. I've met her, and she'll be there this evening as well. So it's going to be looking forward to it.
Yeah, so we'll be hopefully adding to this episode some interviews, all being well. And we don't know how it's really going to go. We're just going to turn up and see who we can drag off to one side and have a chat with them. And hopefully we will be able to get some interviews to add to this podcast. Otherwise, you're going to have to put up with us.
Yeah, we can tell you about the experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, right, that'll do. It's time's getting on. It's 5:15, and it's time to make our way. See you there.
See you there.
It's really a Portsmouth story, and it's important we celebrate that. It was built in Portsmouth. It was crewed by people from Portsmouth. It defended Portsmouth against probably one of the biggest battles to ever come to Britain. So in terms of twice the size of the Spanish Armada when the French invaded the Battle of Solent, and it defended. It sank in Portsmouth, was lost in Portsmouth, found again in Portsmouth, lost again in Portsmouth, found again in Portsmouth, excavated and raised in Portsmouth. So I think we're very right to call ourselves Portsmouth's Mary Rose. And our vision is to become the #1 go-to place for Tudor life, maritime archaeology and conservation in the world. And we're so honoured because we get to care for and research the world's largest Tudor collection to tell the stories of Tudor life and, as you saw tonight, human endeavour for the inspiration, engagement and benefit of all. And we wanted to reach new audiences engaged differently, especially with a generation that didn't grow up watching the Mary Rose sink didn't grow up watching the Mary Rose sink. And you can see her on telly or on Blue Peter, and so it's important we reach a new audience. So we started over 2 years ago with Figment Productions, so they're here tonight, and we started with 2 projects. The first was 1545, which hopefully you experienced tonight, and the second was this amazing 4D experience that we've done tonight. And it's the story of over 500 volunteers, divers, Royal Engineers, shore teams, who basically did everything they could to excavate and raise the Mary Rose. And it uses Unreal Engine, which is state-of-the-art technology. So if you've got kids at home that use computer games, they're going to be so impressed that you saw this tonight, because this is what they're making all the latest computer games. Newly created CGI footage, original footage from BBC Chronicles, and personal footage from the divers. It's a breath of fresh air for museums. And so we wanted all of our visitors to experience it. 50 years ago, we discovered the Mary Rose. 40 years ago, it was raised, and today we tell the story and embark on our next chapter. We've got so much more to tell from the uncovering our secrets, the recent DNA diversity stories, the over 19,000 artefacts, and even one day maybe unlocking the starboard side of the museum, or even going back to the wreck site. However, we can't do that without everyone's help. The heritage sector and museums in particular have struggled since the pandemic. The cost of living, the energy crisis, it's become tougher. So, what we like to do is tell your friends, tell your friends' friends, tell your friends' friends' friends to come visit the Mary Rose Museum, to come visit Portsmouth Historic Dockyard, to come visit Portsmouth, right? This amazing city that we live in. And if not, to go visit any museum, because it's really important you get out there and you support the heritage sector. Now, I said I wasn't going to do any thank yous, but I think I would like to thank one person in particular, and that's our chairman, because he's doing all the other thank yous, and the rest of the Mary Rose board, whose support they've given to me and the exec team to finish what we started with 1545 and dive the Mary Rose. So a quick thank you to Nigel and the board. Alex's new book, I do recommend it. It's amazing. All the stuff you've seen tonight, and it's a limited edition, and I think she'll sign it tonight if you find her.
Cheers to the Mary Rose final trip. Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Well done, Ted.
Enjoy the dessert and wine and cocktails.
Hello, so we are at the Mary Rose 4D event, and with me is Colin Fox.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello there.
So I gather you were part of the dive team.
Yes, I started in 1978 when they were still just using the catamaran.
Right.
And then I carried on for 5 years.
Gosh.
Until 82 when it came up.
So were you a diver? Was that your job?
No, at the time I was doing a lot of work on super tankers, and for every weekend I was away I got 3.5 days leave. So I was able to accumulate a lot of extra time, apart from my holiday. So I came down as often as I could. And I worked out that at the end of it all, I'd done about just over a week underwater, about 172 hours.
That's amazing.
And about 250 dives, something like that.
Yeah.
But no, it was a fascinating experience.
So what was your role? Was it just surveying, or did you actually get involved
Well, excavating and surveying, yes. I mean, I think when you first go down there, it was in 78, it was the first year that they were actually diving inside the wreck. Up to that time, they'd gone all around the outside to kind of delineate where all the timbers were.
Yeah.
And in 78, they had to make this decision whether to raise the wreck or not. And there was a concern that there was the ship could have been all broken up. So what they did, they dug 2 trenches, one at the bow and one at the stern, and measured the angle of the decks at both ends. And finding out that both were exactly the same within a degree gave us a good indication that the rest of the wreck was intact, or some of it anyway. So at that point in 79, the Mary Rose Trust was formed. Instead of just going out every day in a little catamaran with 12 divers, they bought Sleipner for the dive platform.
Yeah.
And the decision was made to raise the Mary Rose.
That must have been really exciting.
Well, it was. It was a totally different ballpark. You know, we were back in '79. We were just going out in the morning from 7 in the morning and up having one dive, and then coming back ashore about midday. Another 12 divers would go out, and they worked till 7 in the evening, and we just did it that way. After that, in 78 and onwards, we were sleeping on board. We did 36 hours on, 36 hours off, 2 dives a day, 1 day off, 2 dives on.
Must be pretty intense.
And then using airlifts and of course surveying any objects we found. And the deeper you got, first of all, you found better and better things because they were better preserved, because they'd been covered up soon after the ship had sunk. But also because you were going deeper and deeper into the wreck, the dive time was shortened as well.
Yeah.
So by the time we got to 82, we were down at almost 60 feet, with only about 30 odd minutes dive time.
Yeah.
And then having a 6-hour break and diving again.
So what's the most exciting thing you found?
That's a question I get often. It's very difficult to say. I found a tankard, which is in the first bit in the museum. I think the most interesting bit was we were diving in 82. Margaret we had to empty the ship in 82, so we were working 24 hours a day. So we were working through the night. To start with, we had underwater torches and lamps, but the batteries weren't charged up, or the light bulbs went. So we ended with these little chemical lights where you snap. We had 2 of those tied to our life jacket, and it was like a candle down there.
Just going down like...
So, and I was diving around an area where the old galley was, a load of bricks, which formed a brick. And I was almost feeling my way, and I suddenly felt this object which was quite curvy, and I thought, this is like a kind of musical instrument, some kind of stringed instrument. And it's very funny how your mind works. You know, you think of the strangest things. I had no idea what it was, so I put it in my bag, brought it up to the surface, and it was a pair of bellows, which is an obvious place you might find by a galley. But that was pretty unique. You know, I think there may have been one more found there, but you know, to find something, sometimes like shoes and things like that, you know, there's lots and lots of them, or pewter plates.
Just amazing.
Lots and lots, but no, a few things like that where not many were found.
We did an amazing job.
It was. I was quite sad when it came up, because I thought, what the hell am I going to do now?
Did you continue diving?
Yes. I got involved in other dive projects. there was a wreck off Hastings, a Dutch East Indiaman called the Amsterdam, which I did some work on, and also I met a guy from Oxford University who was working on some wrecks, very early wrecks in Italy, and I took a dive team from my club in Oxford to help out for a month on an Etruscan wreck, 600 BC, off the coast of Giglio, small island Giglio.
Yeah, it must be amazing to have been involved in the Mary Rose, and then it led to something else.
Yeah. And I did other little small jobs, but
Excellent.
Great stuff.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for talking to us.
All right.
So, hello, I'm at the Mary Rose 4D dive experience, and with me I have Leslie. And Leslie, can you just quickly tell me a bit about yourself?
Yes, I'm Leslie Runnels. I have a PhD in marine geology, and I fly for British Airways past Concorde for 25 years. You couldn't see more than a foot or half a metre away from you. And then at the end of the excavation, I could take people around on what we called a cook's tour, and we could see across, 10 metres across the ship, which was amazing.
Yeah. So how did you come to dive on the Mary Rose? What was your background?
Well, I was really interested in diving and underwater photography, and Margaret Rall asked me to join the project early on. So I came down and did some studies at South Sea University to kick on and all that, and we went off on the small boat, the catamaran, just working basically at weekends and then during the school holidays. But I was flying on Concorde at that time, so it was quite complicated for me to organise my time. So I was up at 60,000 feet or under the ocean at 40 metres. So there was a really interesting combination. So during the latter years of the raising of the Mary Rose, I managed to get British Airways to give me dispensation for unpaid leave, and so I was down the whole time. So when I was working at the Mary Rose, I only was able to work when it was not spring tides. So when it was spring tides, I went up in the air on Concorde and flew at 60,000 feet to America, to Washington, to Barbados, to New York, all of those exciting places.
Wow.
And I had to scrub up really well because I was under the ocean for quite a bit of time.
It's just such extremes.
And then come back.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Yeah. So how did you cope with the conditions underwater? Was it cold? I mean, the cold and the visibility?
It was jolly chilly, very chilly. And coming back in at the beginning of the season, in early March, I remember coming for my first dive. I was so cold, my feet were freezing. And I went to this lovely Cliff Ayres, who had a dye shop in Portsmouth. And I said, Cliff, I cannot cope. I need a dry suit immediately, overnight. And he said, Leslie, I can only do one thing overnight. It's a very, very thick wetsuit for you. And it'll be ready in the morning. I went, thank you. And the next morning I collected it, I was underwater, and I worked for the next 6 months.
Nice
really,
and warm.
Well, I wouldn't say nice and warm, but much, much more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yes. He was a wonderful man, and so good with things like that.
Yeah, it must have just been amazing just to see this evening as well, what you've seen on the screen. Did it bring it all back?
I absolutely loved the film. I thought it was excellent. It wasn't too technical.
No.
And I think for younger people, that is probably the best. If you have it too techy, they won't be interested. But I think it opened that door
And inspired
to say, come on, let me know a little bit more. And my granddaughter's now 11, and she's so excited. She's been to see the museum. She's now done her paddy over water, and she is really, really keen to get underwater and explore exciting projects.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that film has opened it up for so many people who never maybe even considered it.
No.
Not academics, not sport divers, but just that element of excitement and it's perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So did you continue diving after you finished on the
Oh
Mary
yeah, I'm
Rose?
still diving now. I'm
Brilliant.
still doing research, and I'm a doctor of science, marine geology, and it was only through the Mary Rose that I actually did my PhD. So all those wonderful people in the early years of the Mary Rose inspired me to study like a crazy girl, and I ticked my box.
That's
And
amazing.
now I'm helping other people to do the same sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's great to see people's journey after doing the diving and now where you are now.
Totally, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Amazing, amazing project, and I think it will give so much excitement to so many new people, particularly youngsters. That's what we need, isn't
Exactly,
it?
absolutely, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And women divers as well. Yes.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's been great talking to you, and thank you very much.
And also, of course, I was through this and other things that I got involved in the Women Divers Hall of Fame.
Really?
Which is a big American
Yeah.
thing, but to be, I think, one of only 2 UK people to be enrolled in the...
Christina Zanato.
That's right,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
she's
So
yeah.
I think I was in about 10 odd years ago, so quite exciting and not expected because it's not something we hear in UK about, is it?
No.
So Women Divers Hall of Fame, and I think there's a couple of people in this community that I need to promote to get them in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's a great institution to be in. Yeah.
It is hard work to get there, very fulfilling, and if you can explore other people to enjoy that as well, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, no, brilliant, really brilliant. Yeah, very inspiring. Thank you. That's all right.
It's all right.
Yeah, lovely. No, that was amazing. And that was like a real surprise saying about the Women Divers Hall of Fame. Okay, so I'm here with another participant on the Mary Rose. What's your name, please?
Berit Antonsen.
Great.
It's a Norwegian name.
Right, okay. So what was your involvement in the Mary Rose, and when did you start diving?
I met Margaret Rule at the conference on underwater archaeology in early 1979, and I was listening to her presentation, and I was wondering whether I could ask her, did I dare ask her to just have a dive on the Mary Rose? It sounded so fascinating. And I myself, I've been a student in underwater archaeology and had been diving on the wreck in Plymouth, and this conference was in Plymouth. And she had listened to my presentation about my wreck I was diving on. And before I knew it, she came up to me and asked if I'd come and work for her as an underwater archaeologist on the Mary Rose. And it was my wish come true. I've been dreaming about it, I've heard about it, I've read about it, and here it is, I'm being invited to come and work. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. So how many years were you diving, Mary Rose?
That was in 79, and I left in 81. I was pregnant then, and I didn't want to dive while I was pregnant. I know that somebody else did, but I didn't want to do it.
Yeah, it was a choice, isn't it?
Are you going to maritime?
So what was your day like on the Mary Rose?
Yeah, in the summer when it was light early and late, so that you wake up at 5 in order to be the first one in the water, because if you timed it right, you could be under for 1 hour and work and come up and have a break and then go down at midday without having to I nearly said decompress, and be down there for another hour and then wait for 6 hours and be for the last dive on the day for another hour. So you could squeeze in 3 hours.
Yes, yeah.
You had to be up early and you late to bed. And so you had volunteer divers, and we had a fantastic people coming to dive with us. And they were shown around the site and taught how to use the airlift by a team of divers who stayed with us. And so you were allocated your divers, and I had about 6 or 7 dives, which I could use during the day. And I would then brief them on the dive platform, and they would go in and do the work. And if they were relatively new, I would go down and check on them outside my dive time. And so you were relying on other people doing the airlift and to understand how careful they have to be.
Yes.
And they mustn't kneel on the seabed because there could be something precious underneath them where they could break easily. And also you had to teach them how to lift anything, because you have to loosen it from the trench and the bottom, and then you had to find a receptacle for it so you could lift it up, because when you then hit the surface it was wavy and it could fall out. Yes. So that was quite important, that you had the right thing to lift it with. And then it came up, and when they came up from their dive, they had to write a log, and they had to make sure that the finds they had brought up had been given a finds number so that it could be related to their dive and where they were diving.
It's very involved, isn't it?
It is. But we were very lucky. We had a conservationist on board. He was sort of under deck, and he was the one who gave it a number and logged it and everything. So it was well set up.
Yes. Yeah.
And it was being outdoors, diving, doing archaeology, which I love, and love history. And it was a dream come true.
Yeah.
And meeting all these lovely people and other people interested, and we had so much fun. It didn't feel like work.
No, so you get that impression from it, and it must be great to see everybody here tonight. Familiar faces. Yeah.
We are friends for life. Like the group there, John and Leslie and David. We are friends.
Yeah, that's really lovely. And what did you think of the 4D experience?
I liked it. I liked they had got the green quite good, because I was worried it might be a blue, which it was never blue, because it's so it's the Solent. And I thought it was good. What I thought could be made better, maybe less on the lifting and more on the archaeology, because some people doesn't quite understand the concept of the airlift.
Yeah.
And how can you put an airlift down there and hoover it, and how does that do? And to show how gentle you have to be, even though it's the seabed, and how easily finds can be just underneath the surface. So you have to be so careful where you put your knees when you're kneeling, and even when you are sort of swimming around, you mustn't stir the silt up, because you don't know what's underneath there. And
hopefully it will inspire people to kind of look at diving and what the possibilities are.
Yes, that's what I was feeling. If we had more an airlift and undercover stuff on the film, we would sort of encourage younger people to come into the sector. Yeah. But obviously it's an expensive thing to do, because you have to have all the sort of safety things in place, and then all the air and all the staff and all the security. But it's
an amazing thing, and I think it's just amazing to talk to you and some of the other divers. And then, just about your enthusiasm.
Yeah, and every time there's something like this happening, we are here and we are meeting each other again, and we're going to go off, have something to eat and drink, and it'll be a late evening again.
Yeah, well, thank you for talking to us. And it's really good to hear. Yeah, it's still alive.
Yes, we have to make sure that we pass on the knowledge before it's too late. Yeah. We are conscious of that.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. Okay. Okay, so I'm here with Alex Hildred. Welcome, Alex Hildred, and it's been an amazing evening, so thank you for inviting us.
Thanks for coming, Gemma. It was so exciting to be on the BiG Scuba Podcast before, and I'm so pleased you've come today.
Well, I think you're part of the podcast family now. So just for people that are watching this and listening to this, what was your involvement in the Mary Rose, and how long were you a diver?
Well, I joined in 1979, having done the fewest number of open water dives you could ever do to do it, because I'd been an archaeologist, a land archaeologist, done quite a lot of land archaeologists, and suddenly I was told that this project was available to take volunteer divers. So halfway through the 1979 season, I applied to work as a volunteer diver, because there were sessions going on all the neat tides in order to get the best visibility on the Merrow side. And suddenly I got it. It was like the last season or the last session on the Merrows, and we got stranded on the boat, Margaret Rule and a few of the archaeologists there. And because I was an archaeologist, I was helping to do stuff, and she just said, well, why don't you stay on afterwards? And that was 1979, so that was a long time ago.
Yeah, and did you go right? You went right through to the end, 1980?
Well, right, 1982, but then I've still been full-time staff. I was full-time staff from 79 until now.
Yeah.
So it was 82, but then we had a whole load of monitoring of the site. With objects, over 800 objects, this lifted between 82 and 2002, which is when the Ministry of Defence decided they would try and put a channel through, a new channel, to get the aircraft carriers through. And so we got, on the back of their mitigation strategy, money to do 3 years' work, again working on the Merrow site, where we found some really exciting things.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's what people maybe don't realise. They think, it was lifted and then no work carried
but
on.
you have to, because actually, we left a hole in the seabed, and we'd never found the bow of the Merrows. We never found the stem, the big timber that comes up and does it. And so we couldn't afford to actually go and have excavation seasons, but what we had to do was just go and dive and look at what was happening regarding the erosion of the site. And so when we had several bits of funding, some from looking at reburial strategies and various scientific things, which we had to actively look for. So this is really boring stuff, but important.
Yeah.
And then when this threat came from the huge aircraft carriers,
that we
which
saw
were just
today,
behind us just outside the naval base here. And so we got funding to look for the bow castle, and found some really important things, including structure of the side that we didn't expect. So,
so it's great. So it still continues.
It still continues, and we've had so many volunteer people who started as volunteer divers here today, probably about 20 in total from the 500. And all of them have huge stories and excitement, and they came as scuba divers. And some
Just
of them
normal
were
scuba divers.
Just normal scuba divers. Not all of them. A couple of them were archaeologists. Some of them were recruiters, archaeologists. But the bulk of them were just scuba divers, and it's changed their lives.
Yeah, it's inspiring, and it just shows where diving can lead.
It does. Whether it's biology, whether it's marine biology, whether it's just pure scientific analysis of the changing temperature of the sea or whatever, or whether it's archaeology or it's just great.
Well, we've had a great time this evening. The 4D experience was amazing, and thank you for inviting us.
We just wanted to show people what we tried to feel like when we were doing the various difficult things like lifting the ship, and that's very hard to do other than the way we think we've done it. So thanks for coming.
No, you're very welcome, and thank you. It's great. Thank you.
Right, we're back. We are back from being at the Mary Rose Museum and watching the 4D experience.
Oh, it was awesome, wasn't it?
Yeah, really good. So totally recommend it. We've had a great night.
We've met some amazing people. It was super well attended, some real characters, and we've spoken to some...
We've been fed.
We have fed
and watered.
Hospitality was great. Whole atmosphere was great. Great speeches at the end, from thanking people. And then we got to speak to some divers who dived back in 1979.
Yeah, one of them, he was 82. Ted.
Yes.
And still diving. 82. He last dived last year.
He did. Yeah. So we spoke to him. We spoke to a guy called Colin.
Ted Clamp, was it?
Ted Clamp. Yeah.
Ted Clamp.
Yep.
Look him up. He's he was quite a character. Right at the end of the speeches, he gave 3 cheers for the whole team who are involved in raising up raising the ship.
Yeah. And he highly recommended that the women were the best divers.
Were the most best behaved, because apparently, light's gone out. Apparently, some of the male divers used to come up late
So, broke the rules and so we spoke to another diver, Colin, and then we spoke to two ladies, Leslie and Bertie, and they were just incredible. With their stories. Leslie was even a stewardess on Concorde.
That must have been awesome, wasn't it?
So you think Concorde.
One of the things she was saying, wasn't it, is that 1 minute she was up
60,000 feet high, and the next minute she was down at 30 feet.
Imagine being there.
So it was an amazing evening, and the Mary Rose.
If you book it up to go and you see the ship, there's 3 red tags, and I didn't know what they were for. Did you?
No, and they were the first 3. Bits of wood that were discovered by the diver, and then from that moment the whole wreck.
Can you imagine being a diver? You're going along and you think, what's those bits of wood sticking up from the seabed? And then you uncover a bit more and a bit more, and the thing keeps going, and you think, hang on a minute.
And that in the 4D experience, the where you sit down and watch the screen, that appeared, you could see those bits of wood, and then it showed the uncovery of the wreck.
There's bubbles.
Yeah, there's bubbles, there's wind, there's vibrating seats.
Vibrating seats, which I was like, what's that noise? And I realised the seat and everything was moving.
Yeah, it was like you were on a dive boat, and then they vibrated again when, I think it was the lifting bit, wasn't it?
Yeah. And there's part of the framework collapses, doesn't it? As part of the, when you go back to the raising of it, part of the framework collapses due to the sheer weight.
Yeah, and even King Charles, he actually did dive the Mary Rose, didn't he?
I didn't realise he was a diver.
No, so potential guest.
Wow, could we get could our little podcast be graced by the King of England?
Yeah, but overall, it was great to see Alex Hildred. She appeared on our podcast just recently.
Yeah.
And Sally Tyrrell as well. He did an amazing job organising this event.
There are some great characters there, and it's the true spirit of what happens when a team of people from all walks of life, but with the same dream and goal, when they all get together, miracles can happen. And will that ever be repeated and get the rest of it up?
No, and Bertie at the end, she just said that they all, they're best friends, and
that's probably the most important thing, isn't it?
A dive team that's stemmed from over 40 years ago.
Yeah, and a lot can happen in 4 years.
Yeah. So very inspiring.
Yeah, I've got a cold, by the way.
You've stood up really well.
I've hardly mentioned it at all, but I have man flu.
You've done well, considering it's been quite a long day.
It's not COVID. I did a test before I went in there, before anyone thinks it. No.
So it's 10 o'clock in the evening, and we've got a 4-hour drive ahead of us.
Yeah, blimey. It's going to be a late one by the time we finish. Oh, well, never mind. It's been worth it. It's been good fun, and I wouldn't have missed it for the world. So it's been absolutely brilliant. So again, thanks to the Mary Rose team for inviting us and letting us do some recording. We've done some recording, some interviews, and they'll be out on the podcast and hopefully on the YouTube. We've done some other bits and pieces which they'll be on social media.
Yes.
Great to see the aircraft carrier. I think it's the Prince of Wales in position.
Look that up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And also great to see the Victory as well. What an amazing ship.
That was amazing to walk around the back of it and see the kind of
Horatio Nelson's flagship.
Yeah, I think one of the Cambridge colleges one of the halls is based on that ship.
Yeah,
Queen's College.
Yeah, what an amazing ship when Britain ruled the waves.
Yeah. Right, so that's all from us, I think.
Yeah,
isn't it?
that's it. That's it.
Thanks.
Time to hit the road. Need a cup of tea now.
Thanks for downloading, and thanks for listening. And any questions about the Mary Rose, point this way and we'll get them to the people that know.
Yeah, no guests. No guesses like we normally do. It's been a bit of a special one, this one.
Yeah, keep a bit of variety.
Keeping it real, and as the cool kids say.
We're cool kids.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Catch you later. Thanks for downloading. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to leave us a review. See you on the next one.
Bye.